This is Dr. Mubin Sayed from DrBeen.com. Today we have a very important guest with us. You have been asking for having him here, having to talk about Leronlimab. He is the CEO and founder and the director and the president of CytoDyn. Leronlimab, as you may have heard before, and if not, it is a monoclonal antibody which has very, very promising results for HIV and other studies. I'll let Dr. Pourhassan talk about that. But there is a very promising outcome for the COVID-19 patients as well, for which we are very, very excited. So I wanted to make sure that we can talk with Dr. Pourhassan. So Dr. Pourhassan, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Very good. So I have a number of questions that we have curated from some of our cool beans. And then I'm sure that there are going to be questions as we talk live as well. So I will mix those questions. The very important first question that I have been asked a lot is your own background. So somebody mentioned that you are from a mechanical engineering background, and how did you come to found and run this company? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, thank you. I appreciate it for having me. And yes, I came to United States when I was 14 years old. And at that time, I went to school and got my bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering, then my master's program. But when I got my master's, my dad was kicked out of the army in Iranian Revolution. So I was able to go to, my dad wanted me to do business and take care of the family, my mother and four brothers and children, my four brothers and sisters. I did that while I got my PhD in mechanical engineering. So I had 25 years of experience with business, which I did very well with. And I had my difficulties of, at some point it didn't work, but I came back, and every time I fell down on business, I was able to get up again. So with all that, my wife asked me to join CytoDyn because she thought that would be a noble thing to do, to be able to save lives and be able to make money for the shareholders also. So that would be a great business. So I left my teaching job that I had at Center for Advanced Learning and closed all the businesses. And my wife actually funded, we didn't have a lot of money, he funded my first year of working at CytoDyn, raised money. And then when we saw that the drug that was there at the time I was there was not working, I was very fortunate to find Pro-140. When I found out Pro-140, I was taught a lot of things by the inventor of Pro-140, Dr. Paul Madden. I was taught quite a bit of stuff from drug development, from Amarex, Dr. Kazem Kazempour, Dr. Kushdodi. Once I got my training in regulatory and be able to know what to do to make the drug work and get it through approval, I changed everything in the company. We let the scientists that we had actually go because we needed a drug development path, not a new molecule. And that's when I brought in Dr. Robert Schooley from University of California in San Diego, Dr. Paul Madden, the inventor, Dr. Scott Hammer, Dr. Jay Lalezari, who has been tremendous for us. And with those people around me, we were able to talk about options, and I selected monotherapy, and the rest just, the last 6 years, it's just been developing to where we are right now.
Awesome. So I actually, a fascinating background, and thank you very much for taking on this challenge. One thing that is asked, and you mentioned a little bit about that as well, the CytoDyn itself. Tell us a little bit about the company and how is it progressing? How is it adding value for the patients, for the shareholders, for the employees? What is happening at CytoDyn?
So at CytoDyn, I had always said to everybody that we believe that monotherapy for Pro-140 would be very appropriate path. At the time I said that, some of the board members almost fired me. And the FDA wasn't very happy at that time. They made us have a data safety monitoring board and only do to our patients. At that time, we bought Pro-140 for $3.5 million down payment, and nobody thought there was a path forward but me. So I saw that through Dr. Robert Schooley, not myself. Dr. David Ho was in touch with us at that time. Doctors from VIV were in touch with us, John Pottage. And after studying it very carefully, we went in that path. And CytoDyn was in the brink of bankruptcy. When I got them, they had $2 in their account, and they had a bankruptcy papers filed. It was my wife who funded it, and we got back on our feet over there. And then pro-140 was a big challenge because nobody believed in the path going forward. But once we got the first results of monotherapy, and patients from HIV world said that I want this. There is no more pills for me, 4 or 5 pills every day, every exact time. So that impacted patients. And we had a video of the 10 patients who said, wow, they cried. They said, you gave our life back to us. That feeling of being able to touch a person's life in that way was not something I was used to. As a medical doctor, you and your colleagues are very well used to saving people's life. I wasn't. And that gave me a tremendous energy. And when I started looking at the other aspects of this product, I realized that there is a lot of potential. And this product is all credited to Dr. Paul Madden and William Olson, not me. I did not make this product. I should get 0 credit for that. The credit, excuse me, I should get is I was fortunate enough to find the right business path for it and develop it to this point. So CytoDyn is now sitting at about $3.5 billion. So from $3.5 million bought the product. We're fortunate, thank God, to get it to $3.5 billion. That's what everybody at CytoDyn is excited. All the shareholders are excited, and we hope to build on that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I want to, so of course, thank you very much that you are so generous to the inventors of the molecule. I want to note for our viewers here that sometimes it's not just the molecule itself, it is the business wrapper, the packaging around that actually decides the success or failure of a drug. So, of course, as much as you're saying that you have 0 credit in it, without this leadership, without the execution, things do not go anywhere. I run a company as well. I have so many entrepreneur friends as well. The execution and the right path forward is very, very important. So thank you very much for your contribution in that as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So now if we go to some of the user questions,
Sure.
some of the cool bean questions as we call them. And so after these, the main question at this time, which is, I want to open with those questions and then we'll go in other discussions too.
Sure.
The Leronlimab related question. So from your site, and I have done a couple of lectures about the Leronlimab's mechanism of actions as well. From your site, it is said that Leronlimab can actually reduce the cytokine storm for COVID-19 context. So tell us a little bit about the Leronlimab in COVID-19 context and what trials. We would then ask you about the trials and how is the results coming through.
So we had the Leronlimab being very successful in monotherapy for a subpopulation of HIV patients who have R5 virus, which is the virus that uses CCR5. And the fact that it binds to CCR5 was very fascinating for us, that it could allow it to have potential in GVHD. Animal study was tremendous. And then when we used it in cancer, specifically my own mother-in-law, the doctor gave it a few months to live, and then we saw what happened. Thank God she's still alive because of Leronlimab, in my opinion. Then came COVID-19. And everybody thought we just jump on this and said we want to do COVID-19 because everybody's doing it and we get publicity. But that had nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, when Dr. Scott Kelly told me that, it's not the virus, it's what the virus does to the body, which is caused it to have ARDS, and we have impact on that. I called Dr. Bruce Patterson and I said, does it do that? And he said, yes, absolutely. Without hesitation. So we immediately called our regulatory team and says, immediately file an IND, initial new drug application, and a protocol for phase 2. When we did that, FDA says, hold on, we gave you phase 2 for graft versus host disease. We gave you phase 2 for NASH, but we're not going to give you phase 2 for COVID-19 because you don't have any animal study. You don't even have in vitro study. Give us something to help you. So 60 days waiting and then another 30 days. So it'll be 3 months and maybe more waiting. That's when Dr. Sidham Reju from Montefiore, which I call him a hero doctor, stepped in and called FDA and says, my patients are dying any minute. I need this. Remdesivir didn't work, nothing worked. So when he gave the patients, the first 2 patients, I was so excited to hear that he said that one of the patients extubated himself. And he believed in it. And that's the start of everything. And then the whole thing that we have right now, as you can see, where we are. But I'd be happy to answer any question about the trials. Would you like me to go forward, or
Yeah,
you want
absolutely,
to ask?
absolutely. If you can tell us a little bit. So the basic curiosity that I have, some of the health departments that have been talking, we have done about 106 videos about COVID-19. So from many countries, people have been in contact with us and they've been asking for what is a promising thing that we can use. So it would be great for all of us to understand that what have you learned from your trials? What is the potential benefit and what is your confidence level with that?
Yeah, so as those two patients went on, Dr. Sidham Reju asked for 9 more emergency IND immediately. His exact words to me on the phone at that time was, "You need to move because these patients are dying and I don't want to just stand there and watch them die." I said, we asked for emergency IND, I'll be more than happy. He did that. Then when 11 patients were given the drug, some of them start dying, not because of leronlimab, because they stopped giving them treatment of ventilation. Those conditions because their resources were limited. But then when those stories came out that 4 patients actually lived and a lot of the other ones were not dying because they stopped leronlimab or I'm sorry, stopped their own ventilation. So what happened is Dr. Otto Yang from UCLA asked for this. And when we injected a patient who had remdesivir and was on ventilator and nothing was working and her husband asked for leronlimab, Dr. Otto Yang gave leronlimab to Samantha Moti, who she told me I can use her name. She said that her husband said you were completely gone and you came back alive. And that started something very beautiful with Dr. Otto Yang. 29 patients got injected at his institute. Many of them got discharged. Many of them got intubated. And Dr. Nicholas Agnesti got 4 patients intubated who took the product. There was a patient that was on ECMO, got off of the trial, the ECMO. So all of these led us that, hey, we need to have FDA give us phase 2. But already FDA, as soon as they saw what happened with Dr. Sidham Reju patient, immediately FDA worked with us. They did not delay it a day. They said, you got phase 2, go forward. So I got to thank FDA for that. So that happened, and the phase 2, not 1, 2, 1 phase 3 and 1 phase 2. So that had an impact on the whole thing. And phase 2 was mild to moderate, 75 patients, and phase 3 came to be for 390 patients. And we are now finishing the trial with phase 2. We finished the trial already, 87 patients, but only 86 will count because one of them was not able to go forward after got enrolled. And the results of these patients, everybody keep asking me, tell us something so we can be very happy about the primary endpoint is going to be hit. I can't. These are double-blinded. I don't have any idea what's happening. But what I do know is that the 60 patient emergency IND, or I'm sorry, 75 emergency IND, 65 took the leronlimab. The other 10, some of them asked for leronlimab, and by the time they shipped it to them, the patient was dead. That's how bad of a condition these patients are on. So looking at those results, knowing the mechanism of action that has been clearly described now is giving me a lot of hope. But now we have 3 papers that the doctors are working for their data. Dr. Sidham Reju, 11 patients, Dr. Otto Yang, 29 patients, Dr. Agresti, Nicholas Agresti, 4 patients. They're all 3 going to be published, and the mechanism of action will also be described more and more.
Excellent. So, so this is the result, excellent results in the US. I want to ask you one more thing. And in the Cool Beans discussions, normally we talk about the before getting the disease and then having the prophylaxis and then the mild cases and moderate cases and severe and critical. In this spectrum, where does leronlimab sit? What is the right time to use this drug?
So that's one of the questions that our scientists are dealing with also, and the doctors who gave this product to their patients. First of all, mild to moderate patients are the patients in this trial that have a high fever and they need hospitalization, and then they go to hospital, then they are able to take our product if they want to. Critical patients are critical or severe patients are the patients who need to get some kind of oxygen or on ventilator, intubated, or so forth. Whether we can give this product for antiviral drug, we don't know, but Dr. Bruce Patterson's results from his laboratory. Now, we did a lot of studies with the blood of the patients because of the doctors who treat these patients, but the results showed that the viral load went down quite a bit. Now, we need to verify these things through a randomized trial. Viral load was not one of the things that we haven't verified. But if we drop the viral load, then there is more mechanism of action here that we have not explored. To explore these mechanism of actions through other studies would take time. But to do a randomized trial, a quick one, that would not take time. We hope to get approval. If we get approval quickly, everything else we will check to see if it can help people not to get COVID-19 perhaps. But I'm not the scientist behind it, so I won't be able to talk about the science of it, but I can tell you that all the scientists who work for us, they believe that that's something that we definitely got to look at.
Got it. So can I then summarize this to say that anywhere from mild to moderate, that means inside the hospital and onwards within the hospital, various progressions of the disease, stages of the disease, this drug can be used in them.
Yes, if we get approval, obviously we are hoping for that. One thing that a lot of people are sending us email, they want to take Leronlimab after they get over COVID-19 because they don't never fully recover.
Yes.
Now, our doctors believe that could help tremendously, but them thinking that doesn't mean approval from FDA. We have to go through those paths. So we will have a lot of exploring to do post-approval, which we hope to get soon.
So tell me this. So exactly, this is what I wanted to ask as well. This has been a very common question as well from Cool Beans, that when do we get the approvals? Is there any, some of the folks had sent me the messages as well, that is there any big pharma, small pharma issue going on as well? So can you tell us a little bit more about the approvals within the US? What is going on there? Is there any, are you having any challenges in terms of big, small pharma, any such things?
So, you know, a lot of people keep thinking and emailing us that the big pharma is keeping Leronlimab down and so forth. That none of those are true according to what I believe. The big pharmas like Gilead, J&J, ViiV, I'm very proud to know those companies because those companies, they are saving people's lives and making money. Now that can't be any better than that. So I have nothing to say about what they're doing because I don't even know what they're doing exactly. I know they're building more products and it's saving people's lives. HIV single-handedly was handled by Gilead. But what we do is we understood the regulatory pathway. Now the regulatory pathway, FDA doesn't give preferences to big pharma because they're big pharma. Actually, in my opinion, they gave a lot of preferences to us because we got to do a 50-patient study for efficacy in our HIV population because our safety was demonstrated over 900 patients with hardly any serious adverse events. So with that said, I saw firsthand in the last 8 years that FDA just wants to make sure the drug is safe, wants you to demonstrate your efficacy, and whether you're a big pharma or a small pharma, I don't think they care.
I see. So just for our viewers, what we are hearing is that this is not about the big pharma or small pharma. It is about the FDA's confidence level. It's about you demonstrating the results. It's about the studies going on.
Absolutely.
So you're not challenged at this time to move forward. It is mostly the proof of the drug itself.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, so some people were very upset, and I was too, that we saw that there was some perhaps illegal shorting in our stock. You have to separate the stock from the company because the stock, now you got institution, now you got all those things that could happen, which is very, very wrong. For example, 51 million shares was sold in our company, traded, and FINRA and SEC probably would be looking at it. Somebody put a bad news, says CytoDyn is just a fake. They don't have anything. Now, all these informations that we put out from FDA is a very, very, careful organization. They immediately will call us if we do anything that is not right, or if we say anything that's not right. We said I believe in April 27 that we submitted the full BLA. FDA immediately said, no, we don't agree. And we immediately said to the public, it's not completed. It's going to be completed a few more days, and it was. But the shorts would say, oh, they lied, and they make up all these big stories, which is absolutely not true. I would suggest to everybody, watch the press releases. Those have to go through compliance, to regulatory department. Those press releases have to be 100% right, or we get in trouble. And we have not been in trouble with SEC or FINRA in the last 2012. I became CEO since 8 years ago.
Makes sense. Absolutely correct. And in this context, I want to, don't mind me, don't be offended, but there are some questions that we could discuss, and these are hard questions for us as well. So a couple of questions here. One of the question is from George here. Why did the stock drop from 10 to 6? Is there a pump and dump going on? And we have been a little bit careful for other companies as well. So you are here. We can actually ask this question from you right now.
Absolutely. So Andrew left from a Citron report. They put out a report out, and then there was quite a bit of selling. 51 million shares is not something that you see in an OTCB. And the fact that the company hold the 475 and then it came back to $8 and it bounced back and forth and it stopped at $6, that tells us that even when we're under tremendous attack from the shorts, we have people who believe in us. We have perhaps institutions who believe in us. The analysts that they do their work, they see that this is real. This is not something we make up. We don't make up things about patients going and telling how great their lives were saved. If it was, we would have been shut down. So people have to be strong and just believe in fundamental. Anything in the fundamental, they don't feel good about it, then they should perhaps sell their shares. But if they feel good about it, they should just go with the facts. And the facts are, we have done very well so far, thank God.
Absolutely. And I would like to put in my 2 cents here as well, that guys, when I talked about the Leronlimab with you all in the previous discussions, I actually did a lot of research about the mechanism of action, and then I have done a bunch of immunology for the last 10 years. So I first made sure that what I'm talking about is something that can actually stand on its legs. And after that is when I came out and I said that Leronlimab looks like a promising drug. And once again, thank you very much, Dr. Pourhassan, for coming over and talking with the cool beans directly.
Absolutely.
So if you allow me, I'm going to continue with our discussions. One comment that, and I have my questions over here, so I'm reading them as well. So one very common question that I received was the unblinding of the data.
Right.
So can you speak a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the 86th patient out of the 87, we only had 86 with the data. 86th patient finished the trial. It was enrolled on June 17th. So June 17th, that patient got enrolled. So you have to wait 14 days. So on July 1st or 2nd, that patient finished the trial portion that had to do with efficacy. Now, some people might think, okay, then unblinded the next day. It doesn't work like that. You have to have a statistical analysis plan that has been submitted to the FDA, which says that you need this data, that data, and all the hospitals have to sign off on the data with the Amerex before anybody touches the blind of the data. Once every data comes in and all the plans that we have made before unblinding is set with FDA, then you unblind it. So you got to be very, very careful. As everybody knows, Gilead did an interim analysis, changed the number N, and then they changed the primary endpoint. Very smart, and they did it legally. It was they wanted to move from primary endpoint to the how fast the patients can be discharged versus the antiviral. There was no antiviral activity in remdesivir, but it helped the patients discharge 4 days. That's significant, and they could get approval. We have to be smart to do things the right way. When we go to FDA, we're at point A. We tell FDA we predict point B, the finishing. If we don't get there, we don't get approval. And now we have done all the enrollment, and the enrollment 2 weeks is over. All hospitals are signing off. We will have results in July. Now, how early? I am very hesitant to say a couple of weeks or 10 days, because the last time I tried to say what's in my mind and give a guess, that guess didn't come true. Everybody gets upset. So I'm very confident to say we will have the results in July. How early in July, I just can't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. So I want to stay on the trial discussion. However, there is a question that is pressing right now, and people are actually asking and repeating as well. So that question is about the uplisting. So why not I ask you this question before, and then we're going to go back to the trials. So
Absolutely.
when are you uplisting?
So in regards to NASDAQ uplisting, we now have a price that can qualify for NASDAQ. Thank God for that. We also have potential to raise money to go to NASDAQ right now. However, we believe that the potential of this stock, as I always said in the past, double digit doesn't cut it, in my opinion. Triple digit. Now, these are large numbers. My guess could be completely wrong. But my guess is that. So I always hesitate to raise money. I want to make sure that I get the maximum value. When we were at 30 cents, I keep saying that in every time, I'm going to raise just enough money to get to the next month. All the bankers told me that I'm the most stupidest person in the world. Nobody raised money every month by month. You got to raise a lot of money. Well, we would have diluted the company 500 million shares. At one time, we had that offer for $50 million, 500 million shares. So we didn't do that. But now we want to raise the money at the time that we have our primary endpoints announced, at the time we feel like that the shareholder have got the perfect value. And once we raise that money, we will go to NASDAQ. But as of right now, we have asked NASDAQ that we want to uplist, and they are reviewing our application right now. As soon as they come back, say, okay, do A and B, we might do that and uplist. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we will have something to talk about, that's something solid to talk about.
I love it. Thank you very much, because this has been a question that was interest of so many, and there is actually a follow-up question as well. So please keep in mind that I want to go back to the trials and the drug as well, but there is a lot of interest in the company's performance as well. So there is another follow-up question that please follow up regarding the stock. Dr. Pourhassan and Mr. Mulholland said they would be a surprise shareholders would be happy about. Has that happened with the stock?
So when we said there would be, I said Mike Mulholland has something up his sleeve. There is a shortcut always in getting to uplisting. At that time, the price of the stock wasn't at the price that is. It was much lower, I believe. And that is to allow us not to raise money before uplisting. And we are waiting for that to see if that would be accepted. A special situation with pandemic requires special actions, and we are asking to hopefully not to have to, for us not to meet the funding requirement of list. So we're waiting for that right now.
Got it. So a couple of more questions about the company. This is a detour. We're going to go back to the trials. So
absolutely.
Two more questions that were very interesting even for me to figure that out. And one question is about your discussions with the big pharma. So somebody had asked me the kind doctor over here, have you been talking with some companies? Is Gilead been in discussions with you? Is there something that you can share or anything about this, the buyout part of it?
Sure, absolutely. Whenever there is a discussion of licensing or buyout, we have to sign CDA, confidentiality disclosure agreement. When you do that, you cannot talk about the company. That's all would be in the closed door. I have a habit of letting everybody know everything I know at the time as much as I can, as much as I'm allowed to. When we did the licensing agreement from Viera Pharmaceutical that gave us $87 million milestone payments that could come to us in the future sales, I said we signed a non-binding agreement. About 10 weeks later, everybody said that I was not telling the truth, and that was something that was made up, and we announced we made the deal. Now I said in the public, we have been talking to the big pharmas. I can't give names. I can also say that we also talking to big media that want to look at the results as soon as it comes out. Both of them want that. And as soon as the results comes out, they will be able to see it, and perhaps we'll see what happened after that. But everybody should pay attention that the results that we were so excited wasn't even for COVID-19. It was with cancer. And we were getting breakthrough designation, and we were going that path, and that got delayed because of COVID-19. But those patients in cancer are still going forward. So this company has multiple things, and COVID-19, hopefully we can save a lot of patients and get approval. But once that happens, once this result comes out, if it's positive, all of our shareholders should be very, very happy, and the opportunity is going to be multiple opportunities from all over the world. That's all.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to start going towards the trials again. So one more question here, going towards from the company towards the trials. People had been asking this question as well, that if and when the drug is proven to be safe and we can go forward with it, do you have the availability, do you have the resources available to make it scalably available globally? What is your capacity at this time, or what are you doing to help with the capacity?
So as I have said in the past, thanking Dr. Nitya Ray, our Chief Technology Officer, who built Pro-140 from day one at Progenics, and we are fortunate to have him. He made an agreement with Samsung Biologics, who has more capacity than Lonza, and to transfer the technology for any manufacturing process, it takes a year or a year and a half. So thank God we started this 2.5 years ago. So we got all of that out of the way. So we have a giant manufacturing, which is Lonza, which can produce tremendous amount of product. We have to give always, upfront payment sometime, because Lonza just did a deal for $360 million that was in the public domain with a company that got $360 million upfront. The fact that they're willing to work with us and we might have to pay some upfront payment, that's why we're holding the orders. But even though we have to give money like that, I have told our Chief Technology Officer to order whatever they can make, all of it, and we're good with it. And Dr. Kim at the Samsung Biologics said that they were booked, but they are giving us some potential opportunity to manufacture. We are going to get 1.2 million vials this year. So we're going to have that much to go forward if we are fortunate to have approval, which we believe we could. And then the next year, we could get as much as 10 million vials or so. Now, those are, again, numbers that I'm just working with these people, with the folks at AGC and Samsung. But if we have what we believe we have, and if the government believes in us at the time we get hopefully approval, then there will be tremendous help coming to us. So we don't have to sell shares and get this product. The banking system that we have, the investment banking that we have, they will all be able to get us non-dilutive funding, tremendous amount of funding. And we believe being able to manufacture whatever we want in Samsung would be huge for us.
Got it. And I was actually going to ask that you've already answered this question now, that once it is approved, once there is confidence in it, then of course the resources will become available, because 1.2 million vials for this year, we have a problem going on at a scale which is in the scale of billions. So how do we look towards companies that can offer hope to make themselves so scalable and fast that we can serve humanity and protect people?
No, absolutely.
So thank you very much. One more. So now going back towards the trials.
Sure.
So we are aware of the trials in the US. Are there trials going on in other countries? And how have they started? Have they stopped? When are the expected dates for the results? Any light over there?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't turn away anybody almost. When we were told that they want to England, they wanted to United Kingdom wanted to have trial, I told Amarex to move as quickly as possible. Then United Kingdom, they told us what we have to do. We did everything, and now we're close to getting that going. But I'm just shocked that it took this long for United Kingdom to give us clearance. Now, we also were talking to Dr. Gustavo Reyes-Tran, the head of NIH in Mexico, and I know he's doing his best to get the trial moving forward. But CytoDyn turns things around very quickly. It took 2-3 weeks to get a memorandum of understanding from Mexico, but we turned it around and signed it within 48 hours or so. They asked us for protocol. We turned the protocol to them within like 3 hours. Now, think about it. We had to modify the protocol that we had, but within 3 hours. I have told all of our team we don't have room to sit down and do anything but to get the job done right now. So with Mexico, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't started the trial, but if that trial starts, it's a 25 patient trial to approval, most likely. So then we have trials that we were talking about in Brazil that took again a little bit of time now. There is a hold up on that one that I'm waiting to see what they want to do. We're willing to go forward as soon as anybody wants, and we have a CRO called Amarex that everybody should know that we move very, very, very quickly.
So I think I'm going to dig a little deeper in this question as well, and I'm going to put my own thought that I've been discussing with my friends as well, and that is that look, when the remdesivir news started, it was a very quick authorization and then approvals and the trials and then compassionate use and availability of the drug. For Leronlimab, the way I look at the mechanism of action, I actually believe that this drug can actually help. Why is the traction not there? Why is the wheel turning so slow? Is it the company? Is it the process of the NIH and others? Why is it not taking off quickly?
So that's a very good question, and we have to realize that there was only one doctor who believed on the science that the way our scientists believe, and that was Dr. Sidham Raju. When he asked FDA for emergency IND, the person at FDA told them that nobody in the country has asked for Leronlimab. And rightfully so, because CCR5 and the role of CCR5 has been extensively researched in the last 15 years only, not before that. So people are now realizing, like Pfizer didn't know that their CCR5 antagonist has any role in GVHD. Accidentally, they found out. So for us to show that, FDA obviously wants to see the results. So when we went forward, we didn't have the support of NIH. NIH in America, they opened up 49 or 50 sites for remdesivir. They had sites in overseas that they opened up very quickly, and they enrolled 1,000 some patients. We only needed 75 patients, but we have to fund everything, and we have to start from zero and get every site set up with one CRO that we have. So we had a lot of challenges, but as the trial went on and as the publicity came from our press releases and the results pan out to be exactly what we were hoping to be, then we got the fortunate situation where we are enrolling. I mean, we enrolled within 2 months. So if you look at any biotech in the United States and call them and say, can you start a trial from zero and get to the 70 patients, 80 patients within 3 months, they will laugh. They will say that's impossible. But we did it in that kind of timeline.
Makes sense. And for our viewers, I'm looking at the discussions here. For our viewers, as much as the Leronlimab is another monoclonal antibody, I would actually remind us that the mechanism of action of this drug is very different from other antibodies that we are seeing. So some antibodies are just looking at IL-6 or IL-12 or tumor necrosis factor. This drug, or the mechanism of action that I've read up so far, has a much more profound and broader effect that helps with the COVID-19. So I would not put this drug in the same category as other. I think that this has more potential because it is balancing out the CD4, CD8 ratios. It is balancing out it is helping with the cytokine storm with the CCL5 and CCR5. So the mechanism of action contains a lot more potency compared to the other drugs. So I just want to make sure that the cool beans here do not just slot it as another drug, which is IL-6 blocker or something like that. So with this discussion, one more question that comes up very commonly, and I just saw that here as well, that is the countries, for example, India, Pakistan, other emerging markets. If they want to start the trials, what is the process for them to connect with you, or are you connecting with them? I would like to ask you about India and then Pakistan and other such countries. How are you reaching out?
So we haven't reached out to anybody because we had got our hands full in the United States trying to get that approval and all the other trials we have. But what we have is if anybody wants to do a trial over there and they are having enough connection with the health authorities in that country to make the process go faster, we take them very seriously and we move very quickly. And they can email me. My email is npourhassan@cytodyn.com, and I immediately turned it to our regulatory team, but we want to make sure that whoever wants to do that has enough capability to have their health department in their country pay attention to them. If it's not, then they have to start from zero, and it takes a long time.
Makes sense. Got it. So I will actually personally talk with some of the health departments as well that have been reaching out to me and saying that, hey, do you have something that, or some company or some drug that we can hang our hat on? So I'm going to connect you with some of those as well. But I definitely believe that there is a need outside of the US as well to connect with the other countries because of the dire situation that is happening there. One more question, which is very important to me, and it's very near and dear to my heart, and that is the pricing of it.
Yeah.
The very first time I talked about Leronlimab, I looked at the prices, and the prices for the HIV and for the cancer, they were high. And I said that COVID-19, as much as it is important to save every single life, in the terms of billions of people becoming sick or getting exposed, this would be a costly drug. So tell me a little bit about the pricing and what is your approach towards the cost of this drug?
So because remdesivir has been already approved, they are setting the price of the drug. So if they set up any kind of price, we believe very easily we can beat that and or match that. So to go out immediately with a certain price because of all the other conditions that are there, for example, having a pandemic, is something that we have to do a lot of homework. We can't just say what price right away. We don't want to overcharge people, that's for sure, but we have been approached by very, very wealthy individuals, billionaires, that have said that if you get approval, we would want to fund the product for overseas, but not to give you a huge price. Are you good with that? I said, well, I'm good with that, but it's not me. I have bosses also, which is the board of directors, but they all have told me that they are willing to work with any country. Once we get approval, if they want to fund it with manufacturing to make extra product, there is no problem for us. And if we're going to make less money from saving their lives outside of the United States, that's a very, very good thing. But in the United States, we have already the prices being set. There is Medicare, there's rebates, and all of those things that will be taken care of. And patients hopefully will be able to enjoy getting the product without having to pay any money, perhaps.
Makes sense. Got it. So I can probably at least assume from this discussion that for the emerging markets, for the people who are in dire need, it is possible that there is price considerations which can make it affordable for them, and they can
absolutely. We have to be, absolutely.
Got it. So thank you very much. One more question which has been asked before as well, and I'm seeing some questions here too, and that is if you are aware of any contraindication, does this drug, if somebody is, let's say, on hydroxy or ivermectin or some other drugs that they're taking for COVID-19, is this an additive drug, or does it have any contraindications from the trial so far or from the science so far to say it would not work in combination with this or that drug?
So we have zero drug-to-drug interaction problems. We have shown that, and Progenic had shown that before we even bought the product, that because of the mechanism of action of binding to the CCR5, it has no problem to be used with other drugs. And Dr. Paul Madden one time told me this product surprised him when he first invented it, that won't even be able to kill an animal by giving him 5,000 milligrams of it made the rats to become 3 times its size. So the drug also, again, has no drug-to-drug interaction that we know about at all the studies that we have shown. But one thing everybody should know is Leronlimab was studied by Dr. Dennis Berger, who's a ex-professor at OHSU. When he did this 3 years ago, he went to a Providence Medical Center and gave the product to mice study. And in regards to MS, multiple sclerosis, the result was so fantastic that when he told the board, he cried. He broke down and cried because his own wife has MS. He said, we never seen anything like this. When we did animal study with NASH, the fatty deposit was reduced so much. So this drug does, quite a bit of, has quite a bit of potential, and we are willing to work with the pricing of it. We are willing to work with anybody. We're willing to do whatever we need to do to get it into the hands of all the patients for all the indication that they might need.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So there is a question that has been asked a couple of times. I'm going to read that out to you as well. So the question is, how successful must be the phase 2 trial so that the FDA approves Leronlimab? And do you know any drug that is already approved after phase 2 trial?
So when you have a serious when you have unmet medical need situation with cancer, for example, let's just talk about that. There are drugs that are approved with 16 or 20 patients. We hear about that all the time because the condition is unmet medical need. Now, would FDA look at this and say that COVID is not unmet medical need? Would FDA say, well, we're okay, it's not unmet medical need? I don't know. Would they say the result of your phase 2 is pretty good, but not good enough to just go to the approval, you should do phase 3? I don't know. Would they look at it and say this is good enough to get approval? Again, I don't know. But our odds of looking at this and or the logic behind looking at this at potential approval is just because FDA guidelines says unmet medical need population can get approval much sooner. So we have to just wait and see. I just don't know what's going to happen.
Got it. And so there is a question in terms of the pricing. And the question is, what about the uninsured in the USA? So, of course, there is about 34 million or more people who are not insured. If they are in the need of Leronlimab, if the Leronlimab is successful and safe, how do they get the drug?
So in regards to COVID-19, this is something that will affect everybody. We're all in this together. So if anybody has this and they don't have insurance, I don't think any hospital are going to say, no, forget it, you have to go home because, we just can't, you don't have insurance. And I don't know how that works. I haven't even looked at it. Our people who are working with us, American region, we just signed an agreement with them and we announced it yesterday that we signed a distribution with them. So they will definitely be able to address that. But the last thing we want to do is not to give Leronlimab to people who needed it. So whatever we have to do at that time, we have to see what it is, what we can do, and then reply to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this, because to me, this is very important that the folks who are suffering at this time, so we as humanity at this time are suffering, our businesses are suffering, our well-being is suffering. We cannot have the social contact that we are very used to. We like to meet each other and talk with each other. Then our dear ones are dying at this time. They're suffering through this. So any help that can come our way, and thank you very much for your very kind and generous discussion here, that you can offer those drugs and you would see at that time what can be done for the humanity. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
So one more question. Probably we are reaching the tail end of the interview. Leronlimab, what other things, so HIV, cancer, would you like to tell us, our cool beans, that what are the other uses of the Leronlimab?
So Dr. Parviz Lalezari, who's father to Dr. J. Lalezari. Dr. J. Lalezari is a prestige key opinion leader for clinical trials. So his dad, Parviz Lalezari, is also a friend of mine. And he has been at Montefiore for 60 years, Montefiore Medical Center, where we did the COVID patients. He also is a professor at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, which is part of Montefiore now. He reached out to us and said that he looked at the Alzheimer for many years. And when he looked at what Leronlimab can do, he's just beyond himself. He said, I want to do a trial immediately. We have enough patients at Montefiore. Let's go. So I said, absolutely. We are preparing the IND and phase 2 for Alzheimer. So that would be one of the trials that we're going to be doing. NASH trial, I already have told the Amarex to immediately start the trial now because we believe the results are going to be great. The GVHD trial is already going on, but it's been very slow because of COVID-19. Cancer, 23 different cancer, two cancer. One of them is the basket trial, 22, and the other one metastatic triple negative breast cancer. And then we have all other trials like MS. MS, I have told Amarex to go forward very quickly. And we said we will do 10 trials this year. Now, that includes the COVID-19 trials that we have. That's 2 of them. HIV was 2 of them. the monotherapy and combination. So we got 6 more to go, and we are very excited to get all those trials started and get the human data, because we think it's going to be amazing data. For me to see my mother-in-law at home every day, that the her radiologist says she's not going to make it, and if it wasn't because of Leronlimab, she wouldn't make it. It's convincing to me to know whether I'm looking at anecdotal data or not, which I am looking at anecdotal data. That has to be there, but I'm going to work as hard as I can, and CytoDyn and everybody else, to get the product tested in humans in phase 2 in all the trials.
Got it. Thank you very much. One more question, and that again has been asked many times, and that is about Dr. Bruce Patterson's work. Yeah. So who are the entities, who are the doctors who are collaborating with you, working with you? Who owns the data at this time? Who is actually processing the data? Can you shed some light on that?
Our shareholders own all the data that comes out, because our shareholders pay for those data. Whether those data get generated at IncellDx with Dr. Bruce Patterson, or at Covance, or at other doctors we're working with, Dr. Pete Emeritus from other laboratories. So we have many laboratories that we work with. Now the data belongs to CytoDyn, but we like to let the physicians who were brave enough to use Leronlimab and do a great job with their doctors to publish the data. So for that, our hero doctor, Dr. Sitham Raju, will be publishing 11 patient data. He's very close to doing that. 29 patients or so, we're hoping Dr. Otto Yang, he said he would be willing to publish, he wants to publish it. We gave him a green light to do so. And then Dr. Nicholas Agresti. So from the very beginning, when we started with this company, we brought in top doctors in the world, Dr. Robert Scully, Paul Madden, William Olson, the name goes on. And we established our HIV program. Then we went to GVHD, Dr. Dennis Berger, Dr. Scott Kelly, who's our chairman of the board. We moved that. Then we went to cancer. And then, so there is no one person that we depend on anything, but laboratory-wise, we have many labs that we use. But Dr. Bruce Patterson done a great job. Dr. Jayla Rezari done a great job. Doctors that we have with us, Nicholas Agresti, Dr. Chris Regner, who finished the trial enrollment when we were sitting at 50-some. All of a sudden, we went to 86, thanks to Dr. Scott Kelly, our chairman of the board, who's always been there for me and the company and the shareholders. We're doing it. So the number of people that's involved with us is a lot. We will only use the right people that can get us to the finish line very quickly. And we have a track record that's, thank God, not too bad.
So then from the comments when I hear, to me it seems like when the cool beans are sending me the questions, it seems like we are waiting for Dr. Patterson's work. Is that the situation at this time, or that is just one part of the overall?
No. Dr. Patterson, we agreed to have him analyze the samples that comes for CD10 and CD12, and he was kind enough to take that project on. We also have other labs who will do chemokine storm. We have other labs that are working with us right now. So that's not the only lab. What is holding up right now for publication is we are working with Dr. Sitham Raju to publish his paper, and then Dr. Otto Yang and Dr. Nicholas Agresti. This is the data that we have, that we know what happened. Some of them we have analysis from the lab work that was done, which was done in IncellDx, but that's just the lab work that was done at IncellDx. We don't have any other situation with IncellDx but that, and we're not waiting for that. We're going to lock the data, whether we have those lab data, because the lab data for CD10 is not what's going to make it or break it. It's actually the primary endpoint, which is the numbers that the hospitals enter to the system. So we're going forward whether the lab data comes in soon enough or not soon enough.
Got it. Thank you very much. So last 2 or 3 questions, and then we will
yeah, absolutely.
break. So there is one question here that is about, please ask about the severe critical trial update. So yeah, please.
Absolutely. So at one time we said we might do 51 patient interim analysis. That's not happening. Obviously, we got more patient enrolled very quickly. We're sitting at almost 130, I believe 127 is where we are right now. And the enrollment, thanks to, again, our chairman of the board, our chief medical officer, Dr. Scott Kelly, who brought Dr. Chris Regner, is going through the roof now with the CD12. And We want to get the interim analysis done at the time that we have enough patients, and we ask the FDA to make it is okay or not. But to do a safety look at the data, we can do that, and we will definitely let FDA know, because we want to make sure at this time we don't make any mistake that is not allowed by FDA to do. Our data look the results of that and the results of the CD10. We hope to have both of them together at the same time, and that's our plan.
Got it. So one more question, and then I'll ask a surprise question after this one.
Sure.
This question is, Dr. Bean asked about the breast cancer patients. Are there yet more than 13 women analyzed, and also have their metastasis totally stopped after a few weeks of injection?
So the patients, their CTC, circulating tumor cell, which is a marker for metastasis, all the patients are 0. The new patients, the basket trial, we now have patients that have not just breast cancer, other cancer. We have about 5 or 6 that Dr. Jailal Azari has enrolled. He's been very active and doing a fantastic job. But now that the enrollment is picking up, we will get the latest number hopefully soon and let everybody know exactly where we are with the breakthrough designation process and with the results of the trial.
Got it. Thank you very much. So one comment and then one last question.
Sure.
The comment is, I'm seeing this overwhelmingly over here. So much appreciation for your work. So much appreciation for your wife's contribution. So I have this comment right now over here. Tell your wife thank you. She, along with you, changed the entire world, or soon will. So, of course, it's a matter of pride as well. So please thank her from all of us. And there has been so much appreciation for your leadership and for your company and for whole team. So here is my surprise question for you then. Totally different from the rest of the interview. What is the secret of the leadership that you have learned so far? What is 1 or 2 things, if you wanted to teach us all, what would you learn?
I'm always trying to be a good student, and if I can just learn quite a bit myself, I will be very happy. But in regards to, for example, the CytoDyn, whenever I look at a project in the previous businesses or this business, to be an entrepreneur and be able to be successful, you have to look at the whole thing in 2 ways. One is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, we first look at it and analyze the situation. As we all know, equation A equal to B plus C, B and C, you have to understand it before you get your A. And if a process is very difficult, A equal to B plus C plus D plus E, then you have all these variables. Get to know the variables, analyze the mechanism of action of each variable, and then you might be able to guess the results. That's what I did with monotherapy. I did a lot of work, which is not time to talk about why we went to monotherapy with HIV. And then the second portion is, which is very crucial, is you have to have positive energy. You have to have enthusiasm. And for that, I'm indebted to my wife, who changed my life 18 years ago when we got married. And she is a wonderful person, and thanks everybody for thanking her. I have to do that every day, at least 1,000 times, but I'm not doing it, but I will be thanking her again.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time. There are tons more questions here. Maybe we would request your time once again, but I know that you are very busy and you've given us almost an hour now, actually more than an hour. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to you from Cool Beans as well. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you, Doctor. I really appreciate being here and enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.